All right. Wait a second. Should be good now. Okay, okay. All right. Welcome back, everyone. Continuing where I left off. Last time it was kind of preparations, just sort of setting up the actual, like crime, the setup, I guess. I don't know what you want to call it, but it's Keiichi just preparing, getting, the tools ready, getting, his bat, his shovel and shit, and just looking for a nice place to bury Satoko's uncle. Basically, that was pretty much all that happened. There was the phone call with Shion, which I don't know if they were trying to make it like Ryukishi. I don't know if he was trying to make it be like, oh, we don't know if it's actually Mion, or maybe just trick us in believing that it's all Mion. I don't think so. I think he intentionally wanted us to know, okay, that's Shion talking, unless it's a double, gotcha, moment or something like that. But I don't think so. I think we're just supposed to be like, okay, that was Shion who was talking to Keiichi at the end there. And she was sort of hinting at the fact that it was pretty obvious that he's probably the one who killed the aunt. That was pretty much the very first thing that came to mind. The way they described it, like a guy with a bat beating him. Satoshi specifically is did I say Keiichi or Satoshi? Either way, I meant Satoshi. Satoshi is the only one in the story who has any association with baseball, essentially, and bats. Obviously, Satoko does as well. It's the sister of Satoshi and stuff. So yeah, clearly hinting at the fact that that it was Satoshi that did that. I was a little confused on the notes. Actually, you know what? Let me see if I can get that real quick. Because I was a little confused on the note, the last note that we got, just this one. It was kind of weird, like the way it was, because it's like a police report to a police station, First Investigation Division, Chief Takasugi, Prefectural Police Headquarters from the Eradication of Drug-Related Crimes, Shishibone Branch Head. There's a lot of redacted, so there's a lot of it. It's just kind of, I guess, it just had a very hard time understanding what was going on here regarding incident designated as undercover investigation. This message is to inform you that a section of the testimony record of an incident under this police headquarters jurisdiction has been found. That is thought to be related to the undercover investigation of the incident in question, Okinawa Police Station X, in Village housewife slaughtered incident. During the investigation of suspect, now this is the juvenile, because they said that another guy was caught and he confessed. He was like, I did it, I killed her, it was me. And Satoshi essentially was let off because even though he disappeared and no one knows what happened to him, the other guy did confess. So no one's under investigation of Satoshi being the one who killed the aunt, just the fact that he disappeared and no one knows where he is. There's a testimony alluding to the crime in question, and it has become clear that it contains information that only the perpetrator could have known. Therefore, we have prepared to share this record of testimony with you. Duplicate attachment. If this testimony is to believe, then there is extremely high chance the suspect was the perpetrator in the incident in question. Okay, no, sorry. Suspect. During the investigation of suspect, wait, was Satoshi arrested and for drugs? Incident question. In addition, on receiving this testimony, the head case inquired as to the police station, but the police station misunderstood, and in compliance with the as the undercover investigation be executive order from prefectural police headquarters in July, general admission. B, they did not explain the incident existence to the head investigator as they should have. Because of this, the head investigator did not realize the importance of the testimony as it related to the case in question. And as a result, the negligent, when combing the scene, we apologize for having it. So now, in addition, there is a postscript stating that suspect died while on confinement yesterday. Okay, so who is this person who is the suspect? They did not tell us that Satoshi got arrested. He just disappeared. So I don't know if it's saying, because they did catch the guy. They did catch the guy and he confessed to it. So I don't know if you would list him under a suspect or the perpetrator of the crime. I don't know if you would still list him, which is why the use of the word suspect is kind of confusing me. If somewhere in the story I didn't catch where they said Satoshi was arrested but let go because someone else confessed, then if I missed that, then sorry, I must have missed that. But that's the only way I would know if it was actually Satoshi who is the quote-unquote suspect. Or maybe we're just not supposed to know. It's supposed to be a little confusing. But basically, they have a suspect who had like a testimony for something, and they died within custody. So if that is Satoshi, if he got arrested and he died during custody, what does that tell us? You know, like, well, what does that mean? You know, did the police just fuck up that badly and no one knows that Satoshi died that day in the police custody? Or was it something relating to Satoshi that the guy who got arrested knew about that no one ever told anyone about? And essentially this guy just died and no one ever really figured out what the hell happened. I don't know. That did confuse me. But maybe it was supposed to be confusing on purpose. Maybe I'm supposed to not understand just yet, and they'll explain a little bit later. But anyway, something I also forgot is just what's it called? The beginning of the story. There was like that incident about that lady in the sewage drain. I'm still kind of wondering who that was. Was that the uncle's like girlfriend who he was spending time with? Because I think they did name drop someone, but I don't think I really paid attention or knew. I kind of might have to check that out again, or at least look through my old mods to just see what it was. Because like I forgot who it was. Did they ever tell us who that lady was? In which case, if that was the lady who he was dating, then it's obviously he killed her and then just ran away back to Hinamizawa. Which makes sense. Like that would be the reason why he came back. All right, Sunday. The fireworks I heard before noon were probably to announce the opening of the festival. And the weather certainly was in festival weather. It was cloudy. The television forecast was called for a possible downpour starting this evening and lasted until around midnight. That's interesting. So the other times it did not rain. There was no rain during the festival. It was pretty much clear skies. I think it was a pretty decent day if I remember, but most of it took place at night and it seemed like okay. There was no rain for sure. But as long as it wasn't raining at the moment the festival would go on, the festival had to open or it wouldn't begin. I wonder if like the rain is like an omen saying like, oh, Keiichi's gonna try to do Oyashiro's job. Therefore Oyashiro-sama's like upset or something. I don't know if that's sort of what the rain means. But yeah, this is interesting. Hold on. Okay. Furude grounds were probably Furude. I feel like I'm saying it right. Furude. I always just say Furude. I don't know if I'm saying it right or it's just completely wrong. Grounds were probably decorated beautifully for a big performance that only happens once a year. Many paper lanterns were hung up, all in the auspicious color of red and white. The sound of electric motors at the stalls. The voices of kids running around. Their happy families watching them, smiling. Today was the festival of Watanagashi. Was everyone already partaking in the festivities? What about Sadako? Had she forgotten her day of suffering just for a few moments while smiling, and that brilliant smile she hadn't in so long? This wouldn't be the longest day of my life. This would probably be the longest day of my life. It would be the day I would remember vividly for as long as I live. I told my parents I'd go to the festival this evening and lounge about during the early afternoon. With we may have lived under the same roof, but they couldn't help being surprised by the deviation from how I usually spend my time. Glancing at my parents out of the corner of my eye, I went to the front door. I tied my shoes just a little tighter. Than normal, as if to express the firmness of my resolve in those knots. Then I decided to, when I decided to murder Satoko's uncle, I was in such a state of excitement I almost went crazy. And when I was planning out the act of murder, which went directly against all the morals fostered in me from thus far, it was in such a state of calm I almost thought I had lost my emotion. And then yesterday, when I learned Satoko had made exactly the same phone call as me. Satoshi. When I learned Satoshi had made the exact same phone call as me. Didn't know how to describe the muddled feelings I had then. And now entering today, right now, I lack all the emotion I possessed until now. To make simple analogy, it was kind of feeling you might get right after you wake up. To make it a simple analogy, it was the kind of feeling you might get right after you wake up, when you're still half asleep and you don't feel anything very clearly. I had no anger towards that man for the violence he committed against Satoko. Nor did I feel sadness towards or sympathize with her. I felt no discontent towards my friends who had just waited and watched. Never reached out to her with any help, and no nervousness or fear towards the day that had finally come. Yes, right now you could say I was in the best possible conditions for carrying out the murder. Wow, so he's kind of just like completely blanked out any type of like heavy emotion he might have towards all of this. Even hating the uncle, he just completely hating the uncle, having sympathy for Satoko, discontent from his friends, everything. He just completely blanked out. He's like, well, I'm just gonna do this. Whatever, all those feelings don't matter. I'm just gonna do this. Yes, right now you could say I was in the best position to commit the murder. Okay. When it came down to it, I would probably need to let my violent emotion take control. But right up until that moment, I would be like an insect. I would slowly, surely, and silently move towards one object, and then when I had my prey, I'd attack like a bullet. There was no emotion in that, just the creeping mindset insect possessed. The sort of sneaking feeling was just the best. I would kill Satoko's uncle like he was a worm. I had to laugh a little at thinking that way, thinking like an insect. Tug, maybe cicada? Tug, what exactly? I tightened my lace one more time and walked out the door. Bye, Mom. I'm gonna go kill someone. See you later. I brought the shovel out of the front storeroom. I would need to dig the man's grave. The shovel was a convenient one made for camping. If I twisted it like this, and split it into 3, I could easily hide it in my bag. Yeah, I was actually wondering how he's gonna like sneak a shovel around town. I guess it's a what's it called? A compact like type of like shovel. I twisted the shovel and dismantled it. And even though I'd done it countless times before, I had trouble for some reason. Like I was suddenly clumsy now. Oh, I think I've had a feeling like that when I needed to like do something very important, and there was this act that I do all the time. The one time where it really counts, I felt like nervous and like I couldn't do it. Oh Jesus, why is the music loud? I don't know if you guys can hear. My neighbors are playing music. Ooh, you guys can definitely hear it. Hold on a second. Let me see if I can tell them to like. I don't think they'll listen to me, but maybe I could just at least tell them to like shush down a little bit. Alright, hello? Oh my god, sorry about that. Fortunately, it took longer. Here, let me put this real quick just so I can have a little timestamp and when I should do this. Okay. I'm gonna go. Let's do this. Sorry. I knew why. It wasn't because I was nervous. My weak-willed self, deep within me, was hesitant. I knew the act of dismantling the shovel was the first steps I'd take to becoming a murderer. The last twist was conspicuously difficulty, but it finally submitted before the strength of my determination. The area around Satoko's house was outside my circle of activity, but even just riding my bike in the middle of the day like this might seem suspicious to an observant person. I definitely want to avoid meeting and talking to someone I knew. With that in mind, I chose the route to my destination carefully. I didn't mind going the long way around. With how long this day would be, I could never be too careful after all. Still, I found I was fortunate enough to be not to run across anyone on my way to the planned site of the crime. I wasn't superstitious at this point, but it was a good omen. The place I would dig the hole was in this grove, a little further into the woods. Yeah, this place. This one is creepy. This is a creepy ass background. I was worried I might not make it to the same place as before, since there was no sign to guide me, but I arrived there smoothly, and as expected, I took another look around. Not even a hint of a human presence. The air was a little bit damp, but it was comfortable in the cool shade of the tree. I took this dismantled shovel out of my bag and began skillfully putting it together. Then I stuck the tip of the shovel into the soft-looking patch of ground and pushed it with my foot. The shovel would split into the earth if I put some strength into the floor. The act of doing so seemed awfully like the point of no return, and it made me hesitate. Yeah, that's interesting. I was just digging the hole with a shovel, but it made me gulp hard. I can't even imagine how this would feel. Like actively going to like somewhere to do, like, you know, this is a crime. You know this is a crime, but you know you're taking that first step and preparing it. It's like, yeah, it's like the steps to like realizing, okay, this is for real. Calm down, Keiichi Maibara. Let's do a countdown. Get it done on the count of 3, okay? Alright. 1, 2... I couldn't do it on the countdown, despite it just being sticking the shovel into the ground, and I had to count down to 5 or 6 times. Damn it. I'm just digging a hole. This is pathetic. As I thought that, I put strength into my heel like I was stepping on something unpleasant and split. Come the sharp noise. Ugh. It was only soft at the beginning. The soft soil would be on top, I would assume. It'd be easier on top. Rude stones quickly got in the way, informing me just how hard it was to dig a hole enough for a person. Honestly, I would have started digging yesterday and then came back today. Like Killa murdering someone, preparing. No decent person would ever come here anyway. Maybe it would be enough to cover him up with some soft dirt. No. A shallow grave is never a fucking good idea. You've seen so many like stories of don't be like SpongeBob and Mr. Krabs. Every time a naive thought like that crept into my mind, I bit down on it with my teeth and dug even harder. I dug enough now. I could hide him like this. Every time I thought that, I would go into the hole, grow disappointed at how shallow it was, and return to digging. The thin layer of sweat on my brow eventually formed into drops and fell to the ground. My back was in even worse shape. Don't hurt your back, kid. Like, that does not get better with age, brother. My back was in even worse shape. The damp shirt adhered to my skin, and it felt so disgusting. The things I couldn't stand the most were the mosquitoes. Maybe they were attacking by the scent of my sweat. The white and black striped mosquitoes would cling to me whenever I let my guard down. It was hot. It was disgusting. It was sticky. It was itchy. Oh, I was itchy, sorry. All those uncomfortable feelings surged through me in waves. Damn it all. That's why you should have done this yesterday, honestly. I feel like if you did it yesterday, and then came today, it would be better. Hold on, just get my phone. Sorry about that. Is that it? Is that it? I haven't yelled at anyone. It was me talking to myself, me telling myself something. Oh god, why was I feeling this way? And dug a hole all the way out here? The benefit would digging this hole give me? What harm would there be in not digging this hole at all? Wait, in the first place, who ordered me to dig? When I thought it over, maybe ever since grade school or even before that, my whole life had been me doing what other people told me to. I didn't mean it was somehow constrained, living a life just based on the commands of others. And I didn't mean I was too lazy to try and find my own goal in life. Metaphorically speaking, yes, it was like a road. Whoa, what the? Yo, Keiichi is like having an epiphany right now. I'd never been particularly physically fit. I didn't hit puberty very early, and if all my classmates and I got in line, I'd usually be on the shorter end. My scores in jump rope competitions and marathons were all the very picture of average. Oh my god, he's the ultimate lucky student. And it wasn't like the captain of the dodgeball team would have a passionate rock paper scissors contest to see which would get me. During those kindergarten and grade school years, it felt like someone was only worth how fast they grew and how fit they were. Looking back on it now, it was usually uncomfortable for me. The thing that turned all that around was just a few words from my mother. Keiichi, あなた塾に入る気はない? Cram school. Oh, interesting. 学校の勉強がわかるようになって楽しくなるわよ. The very first test I took at cram school was was kind of like a game. It was a lot of fun. It wasn't like the test with the same exact problems dozens of times in a row. Every question had a picture to it, almost like one of those puzzle books that came with manga magazines. If my studies at school had been like this, it would have been more fun. Several days later, I went to cram school again with my mother and the enrollment paperwork. Mom and the person at the cram school had a really long, heated discussion, so I accidentally dozed off and missed most of what they said. But I clearly remember one point. Mom had made a loud groan, surprised at something. 61って平均点が61点ですか?
いえ、違いますよ、お母さん。
61?
全国展開する当塾での平均偏差値が61です。簡易式の知能検査でも非凡な数字が出ています。まず申し上げて、前原圭一君は大変に頭がいい。
圭一が？でも学校では大した成績じゃありませんし、通信簿も2、3、4が適当に並ぶ平均的なもので、何かの間違いではありませんか？
Interesting.
いくつかの知能テストとも重ねましたが、その結果、興味深いことが分かりました。前原君は意味を持たない問題に非常に弱いのです。
Is extremely weak when faced with questions that don't have any meaning.
無味乾燥で自身の生活に結びつかない内容の問題に興味が持てないのです。
Oh, interesting.
2+3 は分からなくても、リンゴが2個あって3個増やしたら何個にという形なら理解できるということですか？
その通りです。
例
えば、正六面体の展開図を書けと言われて混乱する圭一君も、サイコロを切り開いたらどんな形になる？というふうに聞けば、見事に答えられるのです。
Oh, interesting. Then the person from the cram school showed her a page from one of the exams I took. It was a paper with a question about construction. Construction questions were usually unusual, so they were really cool, weren't they?
正二十面体の展開図を書けという問題です。この問題を二十面体のサイコロを作るにはどんな風に厚紙を切ればいいと聞き直したら、圭一君はさも簡単そうにこれを書いてみせました。
Wow, interesting.
これは平凡なことではありません。
圭一、あなたどこかの本の雑誌の付録か何かで二十面体のサイコロを作ったことがあったの？
Dice only went from 1 to 6. I had never even considered before this test that there were dice with more than 6 sides. So it was fun to imagine what kind of shape a die that went up to 20 would have. If I had a die like that, I would win at snakes and ladders against anyone. So I immediately wanted to make it. Finally, I entered cram school. There were only 4 students in the class. They put me in, which was called Select. It was the highest class, and some of my classmates were in the lower classes. And when I remembered how much better they had done at things like dodgeball and the 50-meter sprint, I felt happiness well up within me for the first time. Even if I wasn't good at them as them physically, I triumphed over them in other ways. It was fun at first. The more I did, the more I was praised. My teacher at school suddenly started pampering me, and it felt good. My parents were satisfied too, and I enjoyed seeing them satisfied. The more I listened to my parents' command, the more fun things got. That did happen, didn't it? I grinned dryly in self-deprecation. Because, well, my studious lifestyle didn't end up lasting very long. It was only at the beginning I enjoyed learning more and more. Gradually, it got along less with my friends. My classmates were behind what I was learning in cram school, and I eventually stopped respecting the teachers, given that they could put me to sleep with their lectures. And well, I was disagreeable sort who bragged a lot about how much I knew. And the way the world wouldn't let me remain in the state of ecstasy forever. I would do as I was told, then I'd go above and beyond their expectations, and then they praised me. I was happy for that, and the cycle repeated itself like the wheel on a bike. I thought moving forward like that was how life worked, like a bicycle. When I moved to Hinamizawa, I realized just how inadequate it was. Some things happened, and we started saying how moving and getting a chance in atmosphere would be nice. Getting a change in atmosphere would be nice. And then my father, he had a place like that he liked, and he'd gone to a few times to draw the nature. Also, his dad visited Hinamizawa. He started saying he wanted to bring his atelier there. With me in blank amazement, they decided to move to Hinamizawa. And after that, I met them, didn't I? First day after transferring here, I went to the classroom with the teacher. I thought it would seem pitiful for her to bring me in there, so I placed my hand on the door before she could, slammed it open, and set foot into the room. Did he get pranked? Like first thing pranked by Satoko? The thrilling, powerful way I opened the door was none other than my own determination to try doing my life over again. And then within seconds, the determination took a hard counter to the face. A blackboard eraser fell on me. Plus, there was a huge rock inside. It was a supremely painful trap someone had set up. Oh, come on. Satoko was already beating me right from the first day I transferred. That frightened me. I was bewildered. The class was surprised too. I was just surprised that the students in the class were all in different grades and were different genders. It was because the room felt completely different from the school I knew. Alright, didn't he get to go to like an all-boys school essentially? And as I spent more time with them, my surprise continued to grow. This fresh sense of surprise had never left my life, even to this day. Every day was fresh and new surprise. I never had a single boring day since coming here. Every day were lively, spent with other club members. We played old maid cards with scratches on the back to cheat. We'll let all our passions go wild during our games. We went all out as regular participants in tournaments at a toy store in town, and many, many more things. Oh, I actually just noticed there's like a couple of kids there. Recently, during those times, there were the bento competitions. It was then. That was when I saw an unexpected side to Satoko. Thinking back on it, I only ate dinner with her 2 nights. In such a sweet, gentle time spent, and it warmed my heart remembering it even now. I realized that Satoko was pretending to be stubborn and firm, and how brave she was. Part of her heart always waited for her Nini to come home, and I vowed to become her Nini. Satoko may have been nagging and overly critical, but she knew how to take care of someone. But though it might have seemed like she was always taking the lead, it was actually her way of depending upon another person. Even if Satoshi and Satoko lived as siblings, were confined by their uncle and his wife, they were still warm, sunny days. When did those sunny days all go wrong? What mistake was made? Lamenting tragedy of the past would do no good, and I was told myself that so many times, but I did anyway. Keiichi, isn't that why you chose your own path, to take back that life? Nobody ordered you to do this. You decided it on your own. You don't desire anyone's praise for this. You thought it was all through yourself. You'll carve it out yourself, and you'll do it now. This wasn't a path I could see very far down, not like the road parents or society can offer. It was a narrow path, dark and utterly depressing, one for which the next step would always be shrouded in darkness. But the disheartening path would keep on going forever. It was an ultimate path, and there were nowhere I couldn't travel. The kind of path only available to those able to imagine where they wanted to go. Don't be ashamed at breaking from that brightly lit paved road. In fact, feel proud that you found your own path to walk. And I hadn't discarded the paved road either. Once I achieved my goal, I would go back to that bright road, and then I'd spend those average sunny days at my leisure. Crush. When I realized it, the hole had grown so deep I couldn't believe it. Did I dig all of this myself?
これだけ掘れば十分じゃないか。
I put my shovel into the bottom of the hole. I would drag the body here, throw it into the hole, and cover it up with dirt. Even if it took me time to camouflage it by putting plants on top, it would all go much more easily than digging this hole had. I glanced at my watch. It was almost evening, and I hadn't realized it. I may not have felt the time passing, but digging a hole this deep must have taken quite a lot of time. I took a seat on the slanted rock nearby and wiped my sweat from my brow. Now, once it got a little darker, I'll go get the metal bat I hid in the schoolyard. Then I'd made the call to lure him out, and then I'd do it. The number of things I need to do to reach that moment were dwindling. I felt the moment closing in on me much more keenly than I did the passage of time. I didn't have any hesitations, but I still felt a contradiction. At every step in this process, I had a few chances to hesitate, turn back, to let myself lose my nerve. Having to endure those million temptations and wait for when the time was right was an indescribable, slow and painful torture. I had thought myself acting all weak because of that, but I stopped midway through. This was okay. It was fine. I could detest the abnormal act of homicide as much as I wanted, and it didn't matter. I wasn't going to be a cutthroat killer after today. I would pass through this strange day and go by to the world I was in before. If I fell to the level of psychopath who thought nothing of killing, I wouldn't be able to go back to my old life. So this was fine for me. I didn't have to feel ashamed and at hesitating to kill. Besides, I was human. It was so funny to me that I'd be a bearer of a Yashiro-sama's curse. At the same time I was aware I was human. I exhaled lightly and stood. I concealed my presence and sharpened my senses in all directions to search for anyone around but me. Okay. Let's go. One step at a time. I would walk my own path. A path no one was forcing me to
行くぞ
walk.
前原圭一
The cicadas made an annoying fuzz. Their cores covered up the spacious noise of me breaking twigs underfoot, and their cores filled the path far ahead of me, letting me know I would be alone for some time. The cicadas blessed the path I walked, encouraging me with every last ounce of strength they had. The sky was far above. In not even an hour, the veil of night would draw near, and the sky would be tinted with dusk. By the time the Higurashi would let me hear their chorus in place of the cicadas. Wait, what the fuck? Wait, what? By that time, the Higurashi would let me hear their chorus in place of the cicadas. Wait. Okay, am I under the wrong impression? I thought Higurashis were cicadas, just in Japanese. I thought cicada meant Higurashi. But I guess not. I don't know. Or maybe that was just bad translation. I don't know. Or maybe there's like a double meaning. Like if you say cicadas in like one way and then you say cicadas in another, it means different thing. Like Higurashi, sorry. If you say Higurashi one way and then if you say it a different way, it means two different things. Maybe it's that. And it's kind of like a hard cultural thing to translate into English essentially. So they kind of just did it like that. Then when that happened, would everything be over with? Would everything have ended? I said something along the lines when I left Satoko's fate up to the public agency. But this time was different. I would do it. I would carry it out. I would end it. It would all be over very soon. Everything would end. Yes, when the Higurashis cried. Ooh, the title drop. Higurashi no Nakukoro ni. That's when the title dropped. Oh wow, that's pretty cool actually. Oh wait, I know in the English language, like the subject is usually first and then like the description. So like in English, it would be like when the cicadas cry, right? Like that would be the actual like translation. But I guess they just chose to call it like Higurashi as like the title when they cry. But that is what the title essentially means when the cicadas cry. Because in Japanese it would be like cicadas when they cry. Like that's how it would actually work, like in a sentence. So okay, I think I get it now. Like that was actually full on the name drop. It would be like Higurashi no Nakukoro ni. So the actual translation would be it would all be over soon. Everything would end. Yes, when the cicadas cry. Yeah, when the Higurashi cry. Yeah, so that would actually be the actual title. There was nobody at school. I couldn't hear the playful voices of children. This was the first time I had seen the school with such a lack of human presence. Still, I quieted my breath and looked around, not wanting to be unprepared. It had gotten darker outside, but it was almost like my eyes could see more clearly now. I made absolutely sure of my safety when walking to the heavy construction machine. I'd hid the metal bat behind. I had a tinge of worry and premonition that someone had found the bat and hid it somewhere else as a prank. If that happened, would I take that as an opportunity to desist? If really wasn't there, then the sensation of chilled metal, it was still here where I left it. I hadn't run away. It hadn't run away. Satoshi hadn't run away. He's waited here patiently for me.
待たせたな、サトシ。いよいよだが、覚悟はいいか？
Ooh, I'm not gonna lie, I do feel like a sense of chill. Like I guess this trope, it always like feels very like I always like this trope of like the object representing someone's will, essentially. And I love a good moment where like a character like says their name, or the person who meant the object meant something for, or like represents something, and calls them out saying like, "Are you with me?" Like I always like tropes like that. I guess that's always a really fun trope. Classic one would be like JoJo with Caesar, with like the headband. Though the metallic touch, Satoshi grins at me in my mind. Through the metallic touch. That's what I should be asking, you know. I did this last year already. You should be more worried about yourself.
上等だぜ、サトシ。目に物を見せてやろうぜ。
Satoshi's back got lighter and lighter, and fit into my hands like it was being absorbed. It didn't feel wrong to swing this. I could move it around so naturally, it was like an extension of my own right arm. Of course, it felt like that. Satoshi and I were both holding one bat together. Next, I would make the call to lure the man out. It wasn't a bad time for it. My friends were doubtlessly parading happily through the stalls. I hadn't considered where to make the call from. My house and Satoko's were pretty far apart. If I called from my house, I wouldn't make it. Couldn't I use the school phone? But as I thought, the room was locked up and I couldn't get in. Shit. I'm so naive. I should have at least figured out this part. Yeah, he was like worried about that last time. I'm like, did I forget something? Did I not plan carefully enough? I couldn't call him. And just for that, was today all over? I'm sorry, Satoshi. And just as I cursed my own naivety, a miracle occurred. A bicycle came into the schoolyard. It was a familiar middle-aged man. The one from the Forest Service Field office. Why? Wasn't today Sunday? Was he here to pick up something he forgot? Anyway, the forest officer went around back and felt around in his pocket and then unlocked the door and entered. The best possible coincidence, and it had to be Satoshi who saved me. The metal bat, through just my contact with it, told me this was a chance I couldn't allow to slip by. The sensation for the forest office and the school were neatly separated. I felt the man head into the forest office storage house, which was so far in the back, students weren't allowed into it. The door didn't match it fitting well, so it didn't close all the way, and the gap in the door opened slowly as if to lure me in. I took a deep breath and went in. I tiptoed along slightly and stealthily and made it to the teacher's lounge. That was the only place with a phone. As I held my breath in the teacher's lounge, I heard the Forest Service officer walk out the back over. Then the back door cluttered shut and was locked. I glanced out the window at the schoolyard and watched as the man got on his bike like nothing had happened and rode out to the school gate. Okay, hold on. Theory time. Is the report about the person who was the culprit? Could that not be actually involving Satoshi? Is that a sort of look into the future of the crime that Keiichi is about to commit? And this guy right here, the forest officer, he's going to get in trouble because he was the last person recorded to go to the school. And this phone call that's about to call out the uncle to be murdered, it was, the phone call was placed in the school. And this man was the last one to enter the school, so he would be the one that's most suspicious. Because obviously no one knows Keiichi's here, but I'm pretty sure the staff would know that this guy went here. The school once again emptied because became deadly silent. I waited a bit to make sure the silence was for the real deal, then reached for the telephone on the principal's desk. I fished Satoko's house number out of my pocket. Yes, the number in the class directory for Satoko had been the one from their house where they lived with her uncle. I touched the dial with my finger and then thought for a moment about what to say exactly when he picked it up. Wait a minute. I'm now thinking about this. That scene with the ladder in Watanagashi, was that Shion? Because Shion seems to have a lot of feelings towards Satoko. Feelings that Mion does not have towards her. She does not feel any animosity towards Satoko. Where Shion definitely does have some complicated feelings towards her because, obviously she affected Satoshi a lot and clearly she really liked Satoshi. Because I always found it very strange that in that ladder scene, it always felt very cruel and very unwarranted when quote unquote Mion was shaking the ladder and going like, Satoko, she always ruins everything. She's always causing trouble just because she was abused. It doesn't matter, like she was yelling that out. And I don't know, it just doesn't feel like something Mion would do, which is why I'm wondering, was that Shion at that moment? Because I don't know what the deal is with them just switching places all the time. Oh yeah, I touched the dial with my finger and then thought for a moment about what to say. Exactly. When he picks up, despite how many times I'd gone over in my head last night, now that I had my fingers on the dial like this, it started to seep out of my mind like a cracked bucket leaking water. Simple would be best. More importantly, to say it straight and not sound suspicious. I counted off 3 heartbeats and spun the dial. Ooh, I'm actually getting a little nervous right now. That call, the call sound. Would Satoko's uncle pick up? Now of all times, I hope that he wouldn't pick up. The feeling of doom and the knowledge that could leave Satoko if I didn't, whirling around in a vortex. It was the voice of the grumpy man, like he had just woken up. He picked up. Say your name so I know you're Hojo, you asshole. It would be terrible if I got it wrong. I made up my mind, and all the initiative on my side. Had all the initiative on my side. Here we go.
こちらは下根市沖宮警察です。北条さんのお宅ですか?
I was changing my voice, but did he really think I sounded like an adult? Would he believe I was the police?
はい。北条ですけど。
今、お宅のお嬢さんの北条聡子さんをこちらで保護しています。
え？聡子が？あいつ何かやらかしおりましたか?
He fell for it. I could tell by how tense he was that he didn't doubt my
詳しい
words.
事情はこちらにいらしてからご説明します。すぐにこちらへ来ていただくことはできますか?
今ですか? 風呂に入っちゃったからあんまし表に出たかないんですがね。
What? You didn't want to come out because you already took a bath?
今すぐです。
すぐ。貞子のやつ何をしちゃったんですか?
詳しい話はこちらでいたします。ではお待ちしていますのでよろしくお願いします。
ちょっと俺警察署がどこかわかんないんだけど、どこよ場所?
You moron, what the hell? The Okinomiya police station. I don't know where it is either. Aren't you from around here? Why don't you know that? The greasy sweat came over my body. Eventually, just as I was about to choke, he spoke.
消防署の隣でしたっけ？遠いな。
Thank goodness he remembered his own on his own for me. I didn't care where the police station was, so long as he left his house to get
で
there.
はお待ちしていますので。
俺警察行ったら誰んとこ訪ねればいいんよ。あんた名前は？
On top of that, he wanted to know my name. Just leave your goddamn house already.
前橋と申します。では失礼します。
That was close. I almost thoughtlessly told him my real name. I managed to change the last syllables of it, but I put the receiver down like I was running away. My fingers were trembling and I was soaked in tepid sweat. It wasn't just nervous about the phone call. With the call, everything had finally been put into motion. Yeah, like he literally, like there's so many places he could just like stop and no one would know. But now this guy's walking there and he's gonna question why he was asked to the police station. He has to like essentially kill him. Like he has to kill him, or else he might make things worse for Satoko if he doesn't. I left the school. It was locked before, but it was easy enough to open from the inside. But I couldn't lock it again after I left. In terms of being thorough, I wanted to lock it, but I couldn't waste time going back to the teacher's lounge and looking for the key. I need to rush back fast as I could and ambush him. I zoomed back to the scene of my bike. If Satoko's uncle got out of town before I got there, everything would be over. He learned there would be no one at the station named Maebashi, and things would be pretty messed up. Unless there is one person named Maebashi, but then they'll be like, I didn't call anyone. As I returned at full speed, I passed the family wearing yukatas. I almost said yakutas. Yukatas. They must have been on their way to the festival. Many people in Hamiza knew my face, though I didn't know theirs. Even just passing by them like this made me uneasy. But I didn't generally come around here, so those living in the area might have not known much about me. But I think that would be worse, though, because if you don't show up around there and there's a crime around there, they'd be like, what the fuck happened? That didn't matter right now. I needed to get back to the back as fast as possible to control my breathing and to ambush the man. I hid my bike in the thicket and picked up Satoshi's bat, which I just left hidden in the shade. And then I held my breath, waiting to see someone. I wondered if he still hadn't gotten here, or maybe he went right out of the after the phone call and passed by here already. I couldn't figure out which it was and was set up by the indescribable impatience. Calm down, Keiichi Maibara. Even if he came here already, he passed by here on the way back, right? The end results would be the same. It wouldn't change the fact that he died. He'd probably be coming on his motorcycle. How would I stop him then? I figured it would be best not to think too hard and just hit him as he passed by or beat him out of his seat. The path was made of pebbles. If I hit him hard, he could and made him lose his balance. He would be able he wouldn't be able to help falling. And then the chorus of Higurashi stopped. The sound of a bike approached from far away. Ooh, that's fucking crazy. That's crazy. Okay, I'm actually like kind of like gamer leaning in right now. I couldn't tell what sort of motorcycle it was from the sound, but I'd seen it parked before, so I knew. Yeah, actually, what kind of because if it's like a Harley Davidson, like a big ass motorcycle, I don't know how that works. If it's a dirt bike, it might be easier to get rid of. But if it's like an actual Harley, like that shit, no, that shit, you're not getting rid of that. It was getting rapidly closer. It was almost here. If just went a little further, he'd cross into the thicket and appeared in front of me. I take a moment to make sure it was him. Then, when I had, I put my plan into action. The motorcycle appeared. A few easily identifiable characteristics told me it was Satoko's uncle's bike without a doubt. Was it really him? Was it really Satoko's uncle? I wasn't making a mistake, was I? I looked at its characteristics again. Its color, shape, and most of all, the man's clothes and face. Those last feelings of hesitation, I did away with them. Satoko, now your nini will end it, okay? Closer, closer, the bike came closer. Let's go. Satoshi. Yeah. Whoa! Whoosh! I jumped out of the thicket. I used my shoulder to basically tackle the uncle on the bike with all my might. He gave a dumb shout as his bike completely lost its balance. Finally, it fell and the bike scattering clouds of sand, and after spinning, it stopped. Her uncle tossed to the ground, didn't understand what was happening, and groaned for a few moments, crouching on the ground. My breathing started to become ragged. No, I couldn't have this emotion. Some weird secretion crossed through my brain and nearly made me hallucinate. Her uncle was groaning. Now was the once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. What was I doing? All the sound in the world cut off. My mental chaos for a moment ago withdrew like a lie, and I could feel the temperature in my head rapidly cooling down. The tension in my muscle all went away like a string that had been attached to had been cut, and I let my hands dangle at my sides. It wasn't quite like exhaustion. Have you calmed down now, Keiichi Maibara? Do you need to remember again why things got to this point? Scrape, scrape. I stepped over the pebble path, taking one step, another step, then another towards Satoko's uncle. The more I walked, the more my breathing calmed. The more I walked, the more I felt my body cooling, calming, chilling with frost. Yes, at this moment, this guy had lost permission to live. I had just rescinded it. So he mustn't stay in this world any longer. If he lived any longer, if Satoko's misfortune continued, it would be my responsibility for having allowed him to live. Oh god. Oh my god, this kid's actually about to kill this guy. I could feel the cooling sensation going through my whole body, even down to my capillaries? I actually don't know. Her uncle was at my feet now, still on the ground like an idiot. I smiled coldly at the ridiculous he looked. That's all it took for it to hurt. Satoko's heart hurt much more, and now you're gonna feel that. And with your life, I'll make it up for her pain. I erased my uneasiness, my unnecessary information from my mind. I prioritized the murder of this man. Execute, execute, execute. Oof! Wham! Utterly calmly, I delivered the first strike to the back of his head. The back of his head. Oh, so he's face forward. I wanted to get the most effective shot, at least during the first moment. I'd have to attack him while he was at his most defenseless. Oh god. And if he was hit in the head, he'd cover his head. It was a defensive reaction all humans made, like machines. He used both his hands to cover his head, so he couldn't pick himself up off the heap. He was on the ground. Like pounding a caterpillar into the dirt, I hit him over and over. If I covered his head, I'd hit him on his side. If he covered his head, I'd hit him on his side. If he covered his body, I'd go for his head. If he rolled over, I'd strike his feet, his knees, his elbows. I didn't care where anymore. But just by delivering one blow after another, I induced panic in him. I retained my overwhelming advantage, but I hadn't done nearly enough to deliver a fatal wound. Her uncle skillfully pulled himself off the ground and started to run like a fleeing rabbit. It wasn't a judgment he made after seeing my face and decided whether to fight me. Right now he was fleeing by instinct, just trying to escape from the threat that had presented itself. A counterattack from the more physically capable uncle was what I'm most concerned about. He may have ran, but it wasn't all that unlucky. And the odds were in my favor. The uncle didn't run away towards people, but off the path into the woods. How pleasant that he would run in the direction where nobody else was. He was fleeing into the strange geography, like a rat that instinctively runs into a tight spot over and over. Yes, he was no longer human. He was a rat. The blood vessels in my legs expanded, and my total oxygen supply increased. I lowered myself to gain the most explosive velocity I could. Without breathing, I became like the wind. I became a wind-like shadow and dashed. I crossed thickets and crushed dead tree branches underfoot and drove through the woods like a bullet. He ran so cowardly, arms flailing as he went. After catching up to him, I didn't need so much as to a blink of an eye to strike him again. My senses, mind, body were all sharpened purely to kill this man. This was the first time I felt like this. Well, this was the first experience I ever had killing someone. It felt natural continuing to do this for the first time. And that meant I had this much talent for killing. Or perhaps the act of killing was so simple that anyone could do it. I didn't struggle or grow tired at all chasing the clumsily fleeing uncle. No matter how much he ran, it was like trying to get away from his own shadow. He couldn't get away from me. I could easily aim at his back, his shoulders, his head, even from this unnatural stance. Each time I struck him, he wailed in pain and began to pitifully for forgiveness, but it didn't disturb my mind. I was neither excited nor plagued by hesitation like this. I felt sharp. I felt like a carnivore. Of course, so did the uncle, who was trying to run away because he didn't want to die. He didn't want to be eaten, like a herbivore running with all its might trying to get away. Bam! Despite all attacks, despite all hits, he kept on fleeing without even staggering. And despite the bad footing in the forest... Oh wait, hold on a second. Okay, I'm not gonna lie, I was a little worried that I left the mic muted because I forgot if I actually unmuted it when I had to go do something. And despite the bad footing in the forest, he impressively never tipped over anything. But there was no need to admire the fact. It was simply proof that he was no more than an animal. If he was chased, he would run. If he was going to be killed, he would run. He bared his fangs at the weak, but couldn't oppose the strong whatsoever. He was lowly, vulgar, and diminutive animal. Such a puny little creature had harmed Satoko. Scar after scar to her body and mind, deep wounds that might not ever go away as long as she lives. Oh my god, that was Keiichi. My cold and calm emotion suddenly turned into bestial one. My personality changed into something specialized for murder, purely to devour the diminutive animal before me. The uncle gave a puny little shriek, covered his head, and ran. I'm impressed by how much you can run. Fine, run as much as you like. I will be your death. I will choose the moment at my leisure. Your legs will hurt, your lungs will feel about to burst. Your lungs will feel like they're about to burst. I think your head will hurt from lack of oxygen. If you feel the pain has become worse than death, then by all means stop anytime. God damn. Without turning back, suffocating on his terror of the approaching death, he just ran shamelessly onward. He ran, but was chased, his head bashed with a metal bat, sweat and drooling flying everywhere, blood clinging to him. From his mouth came the sound of coarse, irregular breathing and high-pitched screaming that verged on crying. And pleas for forgiveness to someone, I don't know who. Each and every second was a second of atonement that I granted him. Now run, 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 then fall and moan and die. Where did you even crawl out of anyway? You were never here before. You were never here. You never should have shown up. If you never show up, our lives would still be fun and enjoyable. We would have gone to the festival, waited for each other, and gone to the shrine, laughing. We would have been playing amongst the stalls right about now. We'd be browsing the strange food stalls you only saw at the festivals, trying to get prizes with goldfish scooping, ring throwing, and target practice. Mion would surely make it into a competition, and we as a club would have a grand time. And everyone would have been cheering for Rika-chan's designated dance, and everyone would say how fun it was, and it would have given us energy for days to come. Fun, enjoyable, and funny, warm time spent with friends. And that would happen, but it didn't, and now it was all smashed into pieces. There was no doubt that would be what the world was like if you never showed up. Yeah, he's not wrong. That is kind of what happened before, in the first part at least. You were the obstacle, the mistake, the heresy in that world. But I couldn't correct that mistake now. I would erase you and make it so that this last week never happened. Tonight was the Watanagashi festival, the holy night where taking just one life was permitted in the name of Oyashiro-sama's curse. That's funny. It looked like the Higurashi stopped crying at some point. When the Higurashi cry, everything would end. And the Higurashi silenced. Lowly one. The hour of atonement is at the end. The Higurashi has stopped their crying, thus it is the end. The end, the end, the end, end. You don't have to run away anymore. Die with those dirty brains of yours smashed everywhere. Gwah! Lightning had struck under like an explosion. It was so loud it shook the ground and I smelled gunpowder. The response I got this time was clearly different from the one before. The metal bat crushed into the crown of his head. It was like the top of his head was caved in. The bat felt like it was biting him. God damn, he literally caved the skull in. It had been the final killing attack that visited him. When I didn't overlook the opening he left as his knees gave out under him. I remained alert for a moment, then thud, thud. The planted both knees in the ground and then fell forward, burying his head in the ground. Wait, is he at the spot where he's supposed to bury him? I'd been holding back my ragged breath, but now it all came out of me like a dam bursting. My head was dizzy and light and unable to maintain my balance. I leaned against a nearby tree. The uncle didn't try and guard his head any longer. After a disgusting sort of spasm, he stopped moving. Did I get him? For sure. I fought back my exhaustion, urged to fall over where I stood, and drew towards him carefully. That's still at the ready. It was possible he had faked it, and trying to wait it out. Should I check for a pulse? I realized right away, though, how unnecessary that would be. If I thought he might be faking it, then I would just have to keep pummeling him until I'm satisfied. I felt back my ragged breath again, and then I swung my battle far above and brought it down. Cluck. His body leaped like a bow, but didn't try and cover his head. Then once again I aimed for his head and swung. His reaction was the same this time. Oh god. After spending a few moments making his head like into mochi, the hits gradually started to feel different, and it started to spray a filthy dark red liquid everywhere. That was enough. It was definite now. I had absolutely killed him. There was no sense of accomplishment, nor one of regret. I didn't feel anger towards Satoko's uncle, nor pity towards Satoko herself. Instead, right now, I was feeling like my heart had been stolen by the downpour. It had begun to rain at some point, and how comfortable it felt. The rainwater drenched my body and dripped down to the ground. The excitement within me faded, and the rain washed away the grime. In exchange, my shoes were wet. They made splash sounds. And despite abusing Satoshi's bat like that, it wasn't bent very much. There was a few dents in it, probably from hitting the man, but nothing that would make it seem different from before. Instead, it had been stained with black and red, with mud and blood. But that itself wouldn't be evidence. The one piece of evidence needed to prove that my decisions hadn't just been daydream, and that I ended Satoko's uncle for all eternity. Alright, Keiichi. Calm your mind. Time for passing it over. Now it's time to be cold as ice. I needed to bury the body. But where was I? I simply followed the man as far as I ran in the darkness. I couldn't take a guess of how far we ran. It was already pitch black around us, and the only light I had got to go off was a very faint light on the road a little further down. It was so dark out. I hadn't noticed the darkness until just now. My vision was so good that I couldn't see the man's ugly hairline. I could have counted the pores on his head. It was only now that I realized how much crazy strength I had mustered at that moment. I went over to the streetlight. I looked up and down the road, desperately trying to figure out where I was. Oh no. This was one road connected Hinamizawa to the town. We were unbelievably far from Satoko's house. Two of us really ran so far a distance. My surprise at the time was accompanied by knowledge of the miraculous fact that despite running so far and making it so much noise, we hadn't come across anyone at all. There was a long way between here and the ambush location where I dug the hole. There was no way I could carry the body that far. Wait, aside from that, the bike the man had took was still lying in the middle of the path. That would be an issue. The police could tell whose motorcycle it was by looking at the license plate. And that would just leave it at that. Thankfully, the corpse was in the dark forest. In terms of urgency, dealing with the bike would come first. And I wanted to get the shovel back from where I left it in the hole. I shouldn't drag the body there. I would have to deal with it right here. Fortunately, the ground was like mud from the downpour and more sluggedly here than where I was before. I might be able to dig a grave quickly here. Of course, my bicycle was still over where I left it too. It still wasn't over. Homicide was only in half my goal. The other half would be as important as the first. I would completely hide the body, not allowing a beginning to happen. It would erase the man like he'd never existed and regain a peaceful times we had before. I bent my head backwards and calmed my mind even further. The big water droplets struck my brow mercilessly. They were actually quite comfortable, and for a while I let my desire have its way. After confirming that I was sharp again, I started running through the rain. The motorcycle was in the grass on the roadside. Considering how it looked, pedaled it with the rain and covered in mud. It actually seemed like it had been lying there for a very long time. The plan was to drop the motorcycle into the swamp. The swamp was a bit of a walk here. I lifted the bike up. I didn't think it would be so heavy. I was a little surprised, but once it was upright, it was very easy to roll it along. Still, pushing this thing all the way to the swamp was not really something I wanted to do. I could no longer ignore my exhaustion, and it warned me numerous times of how far the swamp was. The motorcycle, I wonder if I could ride it well enough. Once I got it going, would it basically like riding a bicycle? Would it get me to the swamp quickly? A plan suggested by my exhaustion, the anxiety at getting on a motorcycle for the first time withdrew. I turned the keys and then you kick the pedal, right? Yeah. Vroom, it's on. And then I gripped the handlebars, first the right and then the left. Maybe I twisted it too much. The bike lured and did a wheelie like a angry house. I lost it for a second, but it was just a problem of how much to apply. I actually don't know that word. Let's try again. This time, slowly, gently. That time went... Oh wait, hold on, I'm getting a phone call. Okay. Back. Time it went well. It was strange to be on a two-wheeled vehicle that would go even if it didn't pedal. Very odd, but I got used to it quickly. Mion once told me you could get on a scooter license within a day, and she was clearly right. This was pretty easy. I needed to throw the metal bat into the swamp too, but I didn't know how I would pack the bat into the motorcycle. Without much other choice, I stuffed it into the back of my shirt, feeling like a ninja carrying a katana. If I put the tip down the seat of my pants, it would hunch over and it wouldn't fall out. I got back on the bike this time, going without any difficulty. I carefully pressed the button labeled light, and rather strong light came on, illuminating the way forward. I probably really shouldn't have turned it on, but I didn't have any way of seeing at this point, and had zero confidence I could ride through this darkness. As the rain calmed down near me, I maintained precarious balance and inched my way towards the swamp. Along the way, I ran across a few people who seemed to be returning from the festival, but none of them had any interest in me, as they were either soaked through the rain and hurried on their way home. They had their umbrellas low and their heads down. Yesterday I might have been wary of even these passerbys by now, but right now it didn't seem to be much cause for concern. In fact, it would probably be less suspicious to be riding out in the open like this, instead of sneaking around. More and more though, I started to think of the idea was naive, brought on by my exhausted state. I climbed a steep hill. On the bike, the hill would have put me out of breath, but I just had to accelerate a bit to climb the entire thing. Motorcycles sure are convenient. For a moment, the light illuminated a sign before I passed by it. Onigafuchi Swamp. Good children do not play around here. Still, it wasn't like the way to the swamp was cordoned off by metal fences or anything. Parents and teachers would get mad at you if they found out you were playing at the swamp. But some of the bad kids in the class apparently snuck out here sometimes to see a giant catfish in the place. They talked before about how they'd go to the candy shop and buy some pickled squid, then just tie it to the fishy line and throw it, and all the crayfish would come running. Once I got up the bank, there was a tiny ritual shrine and traditional rope on one of the trees. And as it swallowed the downpour whole, the blackened swamp had waited for me. If I slammed on the accelerator from the cliff top I was on now, the thing would go flying straight into the middle of the swamp. I had to be careful not to fall with it. If I drowned and disappeared, man, that would be a stupid ghost story, that would be. On the night of Tatarigoroshi, Satoko's uncle's corpse was found in the thicket of the road led to town, and Keiichi Maibara went missing. People would whisper that I was demoned away. The 5th year's curse would be a half-baked one. I got off the bike and twisted the accelerator as hard as I could. I let it go when it seemed like it would drag me forward. The bike shot off the cliff and swallowed down into the swamp, leaving a far fainter splash than I imagined. Its surface had been pummeled by the downpour, and the muddy, filthy water was flowing into it. I couldn't even make out the motorbike I'd just thrown in there. It was pretty heavy, after all. It would be quickly engulfed by the soft mud at the bottom of the swamp, and it wouldn't be pulled deeper and deeper until it reached hell itself. I felt no reluctance whatsoever in throwing the man's motorbike down the land of the demons, but I'd have a tinge of regret about Satoshi's bat. I washed the bat with muddy water, and the gore sticking it too came off easily. I had sort of shared today's events with Satoshi, so I wanted to give it a quiet place to stay. That's how I felt. I started to feel more like returning it to the locker room before, so it could continue to keep watch over Satoko.
サトシ、俺、多分、お前のこと、誤解してた。
Satoshi listened quietly, without nodding. I was absolutely convinced now. You were the one who beat your aunt to death last year and saved Satoko. I always scorned you and called you a coward who ran away, but I was wrong. To the rest of the world, some deviant was behind the incident, but I know. That was something you did for her. And then you disappeared. You finally got back that peace and lost it within days. So I swear to you that I will fulfill the fullest. I will live life to the fullest from now on. Live it enough for both of us. I will live on as though this week, this day never happened. But I never forget. This short time we shared together for as long as I live. I didn't know what expressions Satoshi made as he listened, but as someone who had protected the same girl, I felt he had smiled and given me his blessing. And then, my hand moved on its own accord, and the bat I hesitated on throwing away left my hand and flew through the air. It traveled its parabolic path, spinning all the while, and the swamp absorbed it without a sound. There wasn't even any ripple when it hit the surface. The surface was tremendous because of the downpour, and the bat was long gone. For a moment, I regretted having thrown it, but I realized that that might have been what Satoshi had
そう
wanted.
だよな。俺は、まだ感傷に浸る余裕なんかないんだよな。
I would return for my shovel and get my bike. Dig a hole to hide the body and bury it. It seemed like a simple sequence of events, but I felt extremely exhausted, and I had to do it all tonight. Satoshi left me with only the advice that I needed to finish this up soon, and fell silent for eternity and disappeared to the bottom of the demon's abyss. Wow. Alright, give me 1 second. I have to go do something real quick. Yeah, so just give me 1 second. Alright, we're back. Sorry about that. Fortunately, people are too annoying and they ask for too much favors. Okay, let's just continue on. So Keiichi did. I accidentally pressed a couple. Yeah, see, I did it again. So I accidentally did that. Hold on, let me just go back a little bit. Okay, it started from here. I returned to the path I had ambushed her uncle on. My bike was hidden, sleeping in the brush. I stood it up. My whole body felt heavy, but I needed to finish by the end of the day, even if I had to whip myself to do it. Oh, I've forgotten something. I didn't come here for my bike. The shovel was here too. Not good. I was zoning out. Every once in a while, I let my guard down. My vision would almost go black. Pull yourself together, Keiichi Maibara. It's still not over. I went into the grove of the tree and looked for the hole in which I had hidden the shovel. Unfortunately, I hid it deep in the forest, not wanting it to be seen, and now everything was black in the night, and I couldn't see anything anymore. I reawakened my fading consciousness and realized just how big this annoyance really was.
マジかよ。
Oh my god, is the shovel gone? The sweat the rain washed away before came back to my skin. Deep in the forest where the streetlights could never reach. The fact that it would be so pitch black had been completely uncalculated. With this much darkness, even if I had been able to kill him right away like I planned, I didn't know if I could still have buried him without a problem. What should I do? I simply couldn't find the shovel tonight. If I forced myself to go deeper into the forest, I'd lose even the sense of direction and might actually get lost in there. That might have been an exaggeration, but it was fully possible I'd trip over a tree root and sprain my muscle. Alright, my house storage room. There was another shovel there, that same fold kind. I could go back to the house, get the shovel, and give up on finding the shovel tonight. It's not as though the name Maibara is written on the shovel, but it seemed like an unusual item for from an import variant store made another country, so I didn't want to leave the shovel here. But in the darkness, I couldn't go anywhere. I couldn't do anything. I should just give up and go back to the storage room. And there was an electric lantern in there. If I used that for a light, I could look for it. But it was so extremely dark. Could I light the way with just a lantern? The light of the lantern in this dark night. I couldn't discard that possibility of drawing eyes, and I doubted if I could find the shovel with the lantern feeble light. Besides, I left the body there for plenty long already. My sense of fear, dulled through excessive exhaustion, finally reared its ugly head. Anyway, for now the most important thing is to hide the body. A shovel being found wouldn't be a big deal, but a corpse? If they found that, I'd share the same fate as Satoshi. First, I'd go back to the storage room at home. I'd get the lantern. Now that it's gotten dark, I might still need a light to dig a hole for the body too. And I'd get the other shovel, and then I'd deal with the body first thing. Once that was done, I'd come back here, find the shovel, and bring it back. I had to do at least that much, but I was so tired. But complaining wasn't getting me nowhere. If I started getting complacent now, everything will have been for naught. At some point, I sat down. I gritted my teeth and endured lifting my heavy hips. The night was young. Of all nights I experienced, none had ever been this long. When will it all end? Yeah, I was wondering how late it was actually, because it doesn't seem like it almost seems like it's almost like midnight or something, but or at least like 9 o'clock or like 10 o'clock, and at that point I'm like, you should probably get home or else your parents will start asking. The night was young. Oh wow, is that the end or is there a little more? It's kind of slowly fading, so I think that might actually be the end of this chapter. Okay, no, there's a little more. I'm not gonna lie, I would have been a little pissed off if that was it. Because why did I run away just to read this? Not run away, but you know, why did that I had to inconveniently do something when there was just this little much left? So, okay, I'm glad there's more. The light at home was dazzlingly bright. Suddenly, they reminded me of how hungry I was. I checked the clock and saw that it was almost 7. I thought for sure it was 2 or 3 in the morning already. I was surprised at how messed up my biological clock had gotten just from this one night. There was a warm light coming from the curtains in the living room window. The worlds between here and what was beyond those curtains were so different. If only that man hadn't shown up, I would have been in that light. I'd still be excited for the festival, and I'd be talking to my parents about how much fun I had with my friends. And then, even though they made a hot meal for me, I would have eaten way too much at the stalls, barely eaten any of it, and gone back to my room. No doubt I'd crawl into my futon and easily let myself fall asleep. But right now, I was completely different. There was a single ember of warmth from those weak street lights. Right now, I was unconnected to any time spent with my family, and there was neither warm food nor the time to allow myself to sleep. My body exposed to the cold rain, I knew that I simply had to spur myself to accomplish what I must. I realized how timid, how cowardly I was becoming. For what purpose did I need to kill someone so badly that it was worth feeling this terrible? I'd lost sight of that purpose. I selected the fastest, most fundamental way of saving Satoko and executed without hesitation. That man was dead. He was gone. He would never ever hurt Satoko again. We all thought frantically for days on end about Satoko's problem, and finally, with no options, we gave up, and I had solved it in one night, by myself, without anyone's help. Right about now, Satoko would be making dinner for her uncle, despite not knowing when he'd return, and she might be spending the night trembling in fear of whether he'll yell at her for how it tasted. But her uncle wouldn't come home. He wouldn't have to fear his wrath nor let him make her feel sad. I see. I did it. I successfully saved Satoko. All I had been thinking about for so long was killing that man that I'd forgotten the feeling that it was actually all to save her. I did something good. That's right. I did something good, didn't I? I felt hot tears coming from my eyes. And that's when the first realization that the exhaustion I had been feeling was actually guilt. The blade of guilt, for a while now, had just been scraping away with its tip, hurting my heart. It hurt so bad I couldn't stand it. It was throbbing painfully. It hurt so much, it was so painful that I cried. I cried tears of joy at saving Satoko. I didn't know why, really anymore, I just cried. My tears fell and fell. As I stood there for a while, coming to terms with those warm tears, my heart was comforted a little. Alright, Keiichi, my borrow, that's enough. There's nothing to regret or feeling ashamed about. Both my body and mind were thoroughly exhausted, and that was a fact. It was only natural I couldn't feel anything. Even tomorrow and the day after that, I might not be able to feel anything for a while. But there was one thing that was true. There was the indisputable fact that I had saved Satoko. One day we would surely be rewarded. One day I would be proud of how distressed and enterprise I had undertaken. I would be proud of how distressing an enterprise I had undertaken to get Satoko's smile back. And so, that I could wait for the day I had to put the finishing touches on this night. If I left it undone, everything I'd accomplished today would be for naught. I looked back up at the sky, which didn't look like it would stop raining anytime soon. Then I rubbed my eyes and summoned the forward energy from my core again. How long did I plan on spacing out? This isn't the time for daydreaming. Someone could find the corpse very well this moment. A pessimistic thought was proof the very natural emotion of fear had returned to me. As I allowed the fear to spur me onwards, I went to look for another shovel and the lantern inside the storage room. It was fortunate I remembered what it looked like around the streetlights, and nobody was near. With how dark it was quite possible I wouldn't be able to look for it either. I didn't realize that when I left the place, so the idea of memorizing the spot hadn't even crossed my mind. And that's why I had to call it fortunate that I managed to get back to the body like this. The corpse was now located in a big muddy puddle. Half of the thing had already sunk into the swamp-like pool of water. I only realized afterwards but there was an unused irrigation canal right nearby clogging with fallen leaves and dirt, and there was rainwater flowing in from there. My shoe had been awash with water for a long time now, so without any hesitation I stepped into the puddle. Luckily, the whole muddy stream washed it all away. I couldn't leave any slight trace, like bloodstains. The rain was like a blessing from heaven. I checked around me, paying very close attention, and turned off the lantern. It became pitch black, but my eyes got used to the darkness in a few moments, and once I managed to reach the street light on the other side, I was able to make out a faint light. I stuck the shovel into the puddle right next to the corpse. The ground was even looser here than I thought, and the shovel tip easily slid inside. I had to hurry and dig. If I took too much time, I might lose energy and strength again. I felt almost like digging a hole in the sand of the beach. It was easy to dig, but no matter what, the muddy water kept flowing in, covering the hole. The digging wasn't going as well as I'd hoped. I dug, and the water would go in, so I couldn't get a sense of how deep it was. The only way for me to measure is to bury my own foot in the mud. I'm digging just fine. It's alright. Don't be disheartened. Dig, dig, dig. Occasionally a car would come by off the road, and I'd hurry to hide myself in the trees. Everyone was only passing through. They wouldn't have set their eyes peeling in this kind of darkness. I understood it logically, but I still couldn't help but hide. What I was really scared of wasn't that one of these cars would coincidentally happen to witness me here. It was that the distance I could spot a car from was getting gradually shorter. At first I noticed the splashing sound from really far away as cars drove through them. I started noticing them less and less, and with the car that had passed by, I didn't notice it until its headlights were upon me. I felt my senses growing duller by the second. If someone were to take a peek in secret as I burying a body at the worst possible time, maybe I wouldn't even notice. The moment I thought that, I took a good look around me. I rose my half-asleep sense and searched for signs of presence nearby. What if I found out someone was spying on me over from the trees? A carnivorous feeling snarled at me, glaring. If there was, then I would dig another hole. Oof! Oof! What a line! I'd come this far already. I didn't care how much more I had to pay. I didn't know what kind of face I was making at the time, but it was definitely fervently glaring one. My five senses reached the conclusion that nobody was present. I didn't breathe a sigh of relief. How long had I been digging this mud out here? It was deep enough for it to go up to my knees. Maybe this was enough. Maybe I'd throw the corpse into an acid test. I swallowed, getting my breath under control. Despite how much I'd beaten him, I was afraid of touching the corpse. So instead, I dragged it by its feet into the hole. It took more than just a waggle to tug it, and tug to do it. But of course, it did. Considering the man's weight, I was easily 8 kilometers. I railed all my strength and dragged him. At this point, my groundless fear that he might suddenly start moving again had vanished long ago. His body fit perfectly into the muddy hole. It was more than deep enough. Alright, bury him. Quickly, quickly, quickly. If I did a perfect job of burying it, everything would be over. I would hide it in the hole and none of this would have ever happened. When I realized I only had a little further to go, finishing everything, I was racked with pointless anxiety, like I was in a race against time. It was like I was absorbed in a delusion that if I buried the body quickly, it might come back to life. In any case, it was a great rush. I poured mud and dirt into the hole. If it didn't work efficiently, someone might find me here. Until now, I figured if someone saw, I'd just kill them, but not anymore. I was arrested with such absolute fear that if someone saw me, it would all be over. As I finished the work off, it was a total mess. Splish, splash, splash, squish, squish. I drew the surface of the shovel across the ground, trying not to make it flat. And I was completely covered in mud at this point. The rain washed the mud off my body, but not off my now blackened clothing. My body and mind were caked with panic and with fear, with rain, sweat, and mud. My shoulders heaving, I threw the shovel and sat down in the mud. I was so exhausted that I wanted to lie down here and sleep. It was over. This time. For real. It was over. The man was now at the bottom of the wet dirt. Right this moment, there was traces that this place had been dug up. Right this moment, there were traces that this place had been dug up, but the rain and flowing mud water would completely cover it within the moments. Yes, it's over.
やったぞクソったれ
And then I fell over backwards, face up in the mud. Raindrops pelting my face without mercy, but I didn't care. After staying there for a while, resting my mind, I got up again. It was over. So, let's go home. You already buried the whole thing. So now, it's like it never happened. It never happened, so there was no reason for me to stay out here and get rained on. I wobbled to my feet. I wouldn't use the shovel anymore. I considered this mantling it, but I didn't have the strength in my absolute exhaustion. I didn't really need to take it apart anyway. Dragging the shovel behind me, I headed towards the light. I stood up my bike. It had been lying in the grass off by the road. I didn't know how I was going to get the still assembled shovel into the front basket. But I put the shovel down the back of my shirt like I had done with the baseball bat. Unlike the bat, the corners of it was on my back, making it very painful. Plus, if I had relaxed my posture even a little, it would fall out behind me. I ended up having to carry the shovel in my left hand and ride my bike using only my right hand. Not only was I in a state of total exhaustion, this was a downpour. One hand on the handlebars, I was swinging swaying to and fro like a drunk, but I didn't care. Even swaying like this, I got a little closer home every time I paddled. I saw two lights swaying slowly towards me. A car approaching. Oh no, I need to get out of the way. From far away in the shadow of the darkness, a car appeared. It was a dazzling light washing. Watch it be fucking Coach. I feel like it's gonna be Coach. The driver made a short honk on the horn to inform me I was in the middle of the road. I had to get out the way. I kept telling myself that, but not only was I riding one-handed and exhausted, so I couldn't do anything. Wobble, 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 wobble. I meandered about, not going to the right or left. The driver decided to swerve out the way right in front of me, and without lowering its speed much, steadily came towards me. The outline grew larger with my vision and telling me again that I really needed to get out of the way. I jerked the handlebars in one direction, then lost my balance and fell over the bike. My whole body splayed out, and one foot got caught in the bike. This was seriously bad. My drowsiness quickly vanished, and just as the cold sweat broke out from my skin, the driver recklessly spun the wheel to the left, made a counterclockwise U-turn, and came right up for me to stop me. The driver's seat opened and the driver came out. You idiot, what are you doing here? I was pretty sure someone would yell at me like that. Oh, it's fucking what's-her-face. The woman's face that I knew. I lifted my face off the ground and looked at her.
Takano-san.
Konbanwa.
Oh, fuck. This is bad.
月の綺麗な夜ね。前原くん。
It was raining far too harsh to see the moon. Takano unfolded the umbrella and smiled as she spoke. The smile was, for some reason, uncanny, like she sees right through me. Out of all the people I could have met, I got a sudden feeling that this was the one I wanted to see the least.
こんな時間にどうしたのかしら？傘もささずに全身ずぶ濡れの泥まみれで、それは何？シャベル？
She had came here via car. She wouldn't have known what I was doing, and yet she smiled as though she knew everything. Calm down, Keiichi Mibara. She always makes the mysterious-looking smile, remember? Don't let her get on to anything, lest you dig your own grave.
噂じゃあなた、ゴルフクラブで野球に参加したそうだけど、そのシャベルも、つまりはそういうこと？傘の代わりってわけかしら？
I should tell a good lie here. If I could just do that, things would work out.
レナと宝探しにダム現場に行った時にこれを忘れてきちゃったんですよ。
それをこの土砂降りの中。
家を出た時は降るとは思いませんでしたので。
あら、降り出したのは結構前よ。あなたずいぶん前から表にいるのね。
まあほっつき歩いてましたから。
それにしたあなた、向こうからこっちに向かってきたんです。
Oh my god, this lady. I had a feeling things would go wrong. I don't know. I still don't quite understand what this lady's like deal is.
ダムとは場所も方向も正反対よ。
Takano-san was clearly aware that something exceedingly abnormal was happening with me. And as she played her little games, she would enjoy driving me into a corner. Maybe she had a vague guess just from the situation of what I'd been doing. My timing really sucked to run into her, of all people, of all the times. At the very end, I could only be frustrated at my terrible luck. I've done so much, and the end was literally right around the corner. So why at the very end did I run into her, of all people? What do you do, Keiichi Maibara? You're still holding something that could be a dangerous weapon. Will you silence Takano? Oh my, I'll be honest, I didn't even consider that he would kill her right now and just walk away. Even if it would be simple to do, to kill Takano, dealing with the car she'd come in after would be an issue. I couldn't drive a car. It was completely different from a motorbike. But even if the car was here, as long as there was no proof, I'd kill her. Yes, in tonight's downpour, without any prior planning, all by coincidence, a hit and run. As long as I didn't drop the handkerchiefs with my initials on them, they would never know I'd killed her. A black flame quietly smoldered in rage in the core of my body.
怖い顔いじめすぎちゃったかしら
This lady's weird, bro. I do not understand this lady. Takano-san started to laugh by herself and thankfully stopped talking about it. But the dark cloud in my mind didn't go away.
それはそうといつまで自転車にまたがったまま地面そろそろどいてくれるかしら
If I moved, she would leave. So I tried to get my bicycle up out the way, but then twisted my ankle and it fell over. It was a sharp pain in the ankle I twisted. This is nonsense. A sprained ankle now?
大丈夫ひょっとしてひねっちゃった
Takano-san squatted down to take a look at my ankle, and I kept rubbing it. Ankle I kept rubbing. She compressed it to my facial expression, apparently trying to gauge how bad the wound was. I didn't expect to, but I couldn't even stand up. It was all I could do to shamelessly wriggle on the ground like a caterpillar. Takano-san looked at her watch, then at the car, and after thinking for a moment, opened the passenger seat door, and then gave me a shoulder to lean on.
家まで送るわなんだか私が跳ねたみたいで嫌な気持ちだけどね
すみません。
見捨てるのも気の毒だし私が優しい人でよかったわね
What's gonna happen, man? What's he gonna do? Nobody good has ever called themselves a nice person. That's true. You know what? That's true. But that would have been a terrible thing to say to someone holding me up like this. I took Takano's hand and sat down in the passenger seat. Takano went around the back and looked at my bike on the ground.
自転車は後日ってことにはならない
I could clearly tell from her face that she thought it would be a pain, since it would be heavy and it would get her car dirty. But my bike has my name I borrowed written on it. I couldn't just leave it out here.
そのなんとか車にないと困るんで。
トランクはもういっぱいね後部座席なんかに積んだらシートが泥で汚れちゃうわまああなたを乗せた時点でもう十分に汚れてるんだけれども
See, this is where it all like. Okay, so I guess I'll take the time now to sort of talk about this. This plan was already not gonna work. Like, this is already not gonna work because. Okay, let's say, sure, the uncle was someone who already just kind of leaves and just decides, okay, I'm just gonna leave. I'm not gonna come back here. I don't care about Satoko. I'm gonna go live with my girlfriend or whatever. Okay, let's say that was just what happens. At the end of the day, people will still ask where he went, because they have to ask why he left Satoko alone. I'm pretty sure, because the thing is, everyone knew that he left to go be with his girlfriend. It's not like that was like a secret on where you been this whole time. You know, like no one found out where he went. No, everyone knew where he went. Someone probably asked, like, hey, have you seen this guy? No. And then eventually, at some point, someone would be like, yeah, I actually did see him. Someone told me that he's hanging out over there. I think he's with his girlfriend. It's like, oh, okay, that's where he is. And then they know where he is. Or probably the authorities were looking for him and they found him. Or I don't know what Japanese law, especially around the 80s, on whether or not you have to show that you're the guardian of someone and you can't just leave him alone or whatever. I don't know how that process works. But people did know where he was. It wasn't like it was a mystery on where he went. So if this guy just up and disappears, they're gonna have to file a missing person report. Police are gonna have to get involved and ask, where did this guy go? Now, with that being said, okay, they're gonna ask around who And it's not a secret. It's not a secret that people hate this guy, especially a lot of the probably younger kids. Like, no one really likes him, so maybe that might help with, like, be like, oh, no one likes him, so everyone had a reason to kill him or whatever. But the biggest problem I think Heiichi's plan is the fact that he told his parents, I'm gonna go hang out with my friends. Okay. What does his friends know? I'm gonna stay home and just not do anything else. Or no, sorry, what did Shion said? I have things to do. So Shion's the only one who really knows. Listen, I really doubt Shion told everyone else that Keiichi's gonna go do something else and we should take Satoko. I genuinely don't even think Satoko went to the festival. I actually don't know what the fuck happened. Maybe she did. Maybe she went to the festival. I don't know. But this plan was just bad from the start. Like, it was just, like, now especially, you have Takano who saw you. You have evidence of your bike. This is the part where the things leave the trace. You know how he's talking about, like, how the crime never happened. It never happened, you know, like, because there was no beginning. There's a beginning now. There's a beginning now, and this is the problem right now. Alright, anyway, let's just continue. I want to see how this ends. I turn back to the back seat and see someone folding the bicycle there already. It still looked big enough to fit my bike in there as well. My expression reflected my thoughts, and the exact thoughts seemed to get through to her.
わかったわわかったわ。積んであげる。今夜だけはお姉さんも優しくしてあげるわ。
This lady's fucking weird. Takano continued to make her mean jokes, but she's hoisted my bike and loaded it into the back of the seat for me. The mean jokes were one thing, but couldn't she do something about that eerie smile of hers? And even more importantly than the bike, I didn't want to leave the shovel here. The shovel could be directly connected to the burying the body and me.
ついでで申し訳ないんですけど、シャベルもお願いしていいですか?
A clearly dubious Takano gave me a clearly dubious expression. Your shovel?
別にいいけど大事なもの?
The more I talk, the worse it gets for me. Yo, like, this is just a mess, dude. Honestly, just fuck it. A murder is a mess, all right? A murder is a mess. This is a mess. Fucking kill her. Just walk away. Straight up, this would be the perfect crime. Kill her right now. Drive away. Like, no one knows. There's no reason why she would die. Like, this would be the perfect crime on some Patrick Star shit. That's how I felt, so I didn't force myself to answer her. Eventually, outlasted by my silence, Takano gave a short shrug and sighed.
はいはいわかったわ。僕はシャベルがないと困っちゃうんでしょ。そんな怖い目しなくてもいいわよ。
Takano brought over the shovel that was lying in the middle of the road. She's testing her luck so badly. I clutched it like I never let go of it again. Takano-san watched me with a puzzled look.
じゃ、行くわよ。前原くんのお家ってあの前原屋敷でいいんでしょ。
Maibara Mansion.
なんでみんなうちのことを前原屋敷って呼ぶんですか?
だって現にお屋敷じゃない。お金持ちが羨ましいわ。
As she spoke, Takano pulled the handbrake and stepped on the gas. After making a skillful U-turn using the shoulder of the road, she steadily increased in speed. From the rearview mirror, the accursed place seemed to melt into the darkness.
誰だ?
Huh?
すみません。よく聞こえませんでした。
I wish this rain stopped. The rain effects. Like, I know this is a cheap visual novel, like you know, like it's a very cheap production. But goddamn, this rain effects are fucking annoying.
今なんて?
Takano suddenly tried to say something to me, but thoughtlessly I didn't catch it. Looking ahead, Takano-san said the same thing one more time.
したい。
Huh?
上手に埋められた。
I thought my heart beat out of my chest, but didn't let it show. But my lungs were squeezed tight, and I couldn't breathe.
何を言ってるんですか?
こういう山奥に死体を埋めるときはね、結構深く掘らないと野犬とかが匂いを嗅ぎつけて掘り返しちゃうことも多いのよ。野犬が加えてた人骨で事件が発覚、警察一帯を山狩りへなんて結構ないことじゃないのよ。
Okay. Pound, pound, clang, clang. Huge rusted bells started ringing in my head. Had I buried it so deep that I could say it absolutely wouldn't be found? The answer was no. I was in such a rush. I buried him to get it over with, and I couldn't deny having possibly buried it too close to the surface. No, wait. That's not... Wait, anyway. This woman, how does she know? She had just passed by here in her car by coincidence. And we ran into each other by coincidence. If she had been watching the entire thing from the trees, and once I left, she'd come back in her car? It didn't make logical sense. So then why? Keiichi Maibara, that's it. You need to kill her. My entire body reawakened, and I could feel my pupil dilate. I couldn't possibly beat her to death with a shovel in such a small car. So then I would use my hands to strangle her. But she was driving right now. If I strangled her, we might get into an accident. Then suddenly, Tanaka turned and looked at me. For a moment I was surprised. What was she talking about? Takano-san said, disappointed, returning her gaze ahead. I repeated the words she said a few times in my head and finally realized what she meant it as an off-color joke. I didn't know whether it really was a joke, but I wouldn't be able to fool her no matter how many lies I told. Right now, with her driving the car like this, I couldn't kill her. I would have to have an even harder time doing it when we got back to my house. Killing her... Wait, right now with her driving the car like this, I couldn't kill her. I would have an even harder time doing it when we got back to my house. Okay, I read that right. The moment we met, that had been my best chance. And to have missed it so easily, it hurt. After that, Takano-san didn't say a single word. The car was completely buried in almost suffocating silence. What kind of woman had I ran into? Even everything that happened today, I managed to pull it off, and the very end of it all, I just had to go home and go back to sleep. What bad luck. As my sleepiness gradually overtook me, the anxiety I felt steadily started to matter less and less. Is this alright, Keiichi Maibara? You probably should not leave this woman alive. Right now, I'm tired. She stepped on the brakes and I jerked against the seatbelt. That woke me up. I thought I might have fallen asleep by accident. I looked out the window and there was a big building with faint lights on it. It was really dark out, but I knew immediately it was my house.
ご家族を呼んでくるわね。少しの間だけど、一人でお留守番でき。
バカにしないでください。それに、ほら、もう大丈夫です。一人で歩けますから。
あらあら、さっきは痛そうな顔して肩まで借りたのに。ひょっとしてお姉さんに甘えてみたかったから。
As Takano-san spoke, she left the car and opened up her umbrella. The sound of falling rain was fierce as always. I carefully reached out and rubbed the ankle I twisted. There was some pain, a little weariness, but they weren't that bad anymore. Rather than be happy about how light the wound was, the first regretted this whole thing. If I hadn't twisted my ankle, I could have still taken the option of killing Takano right then and there. There probably wasn't much doubt that Takano-san was convinced I was involved in some sort of crime. If she knew about everything happening with Satoko, then she might have even guessed I killed somebody. Cut click. Takano-san opened the passenger side door for me.
本当に肩は必要ないかしら？もう一回だけ甘えてもいいのよ。
I ignored her and answered by getting out of the car myself. The rain is still pretty insane. I got my bicycle off the back seat. I was a bit curious who the other bike belonged to, but that didn't matter right now. Whoa, wait, there's another bike there. I let Takano-san hold the umbrella over me, then pushed my bicycle up to the front door.
ありがとうございます。もうここまでで大丈夫です。
My ankle hurt so much earlier, and it still did, but it aggravated me that it hadn't been that bad. It was really serious terrible luck.
じゃあ、私はこれで失礼するわね。
Was there someone else biking? Did they say that someone else was biking this whole chapter? It could be Tomitaka-san's bike. It could be his. But I don't know. I will be leaving now.
前原くんと二人きりで夜のドライブだったなんて。特に二郎さんにはね。
Jiro-san? Oh, she meant Tomitaka-san. I suppose she'd call him by his first name. His full name must be Jiro Tomitaka then. And then the other bike, the folded one in the back seat that I didn't care about at first, suddenly came to mind. Hey, excuse me, you're from Hinamizawa, right? On the day before yesterday, as I walked near the dam, half asleep, Tomitaka had talked to me. And the bicycle he had ridden, it was... Oh, okay, yeah.
あの後ろに積んであった自転車、富武さんのですよね。
Takano-san's eyes, I think they were sharpened for a moment.
どうしてそう思うのかしら？
以前に会った時見てますから。フレームも特徴的でしたし。
ふーん。
Holy
で
shit.
も、おかしくないかしら。この自転車が二郎さんのものだなんてこと、ありえ。
おかしいって。
Takano-san, her hair elegantly fluttering, peered into my eyes.
だって、ひなみ沢には民宿なんてないのよ。なら二郎さんは町に泊まっていることになるわよね。
そうなんですか？まあ、そうならそうなんじゃないですか？
町からひなみ沢まではとても歩いてなんか行き来できないわ。バスだって走ってないし、せめて自転車くらいはなきゃね。
She didn't need to tell me that. That's why Jiro-san was riding a bike.
その二郎さんの自転車が私の車に積んであって、二郎さんは私の車に乗っていないなら、おかし、二郎さんはひなみ沢で自転車なしってことになっちゃうわよ。二郎さんを放っておいて、自転車だけが私の車に積んであるなんて、ね。
Is she teasing us? Like, is she like... Yo, I don't understand this lady. I just don't understand this lady. Like, now she's making it seem like she killed the
あ
man.
りえないでしょ。
As she spoke, Takano-san's eyes made like a hawk. Unfortunately, I didn't really understand. What was so odd?
それの何がおかしいんですか？高野さんは富武さんとは仲がいいんですよね。何かのようで自転車を積んであげたって。別におかしいことだとは思わないですけれど。
そうじゃないでしょ。つまりこのひなみ沢において二郎さんとその自転車がバラバラに存在することはありえないということなのよ。以上の理由からこの自転車が二郎さんのものであるわけがない。理解できたかしら？
Takano-san's roundabout way of thinking, of talking, was hard to comprehend. With that eeriness I could feel, the vague dreadfulness, I didn't like it at all. But the most wild, instinctive part of me warned me not to pry.
あれは私の自転車なのよ。二郎さんに選んでもらったから センスが似てるのは間違いないけれどね。
あ、そうだったんですか。道理で似てるとは。
私とあなたは今夜出会わなかった。
And now she was talking about something completely different.
何を言ってるんですか？
私とあなたは今夜出会わなかった。
I stayed here, not knowing what to say, and Takano-san repeated her eerie, succinct phrase to me again.
私とあなたは私とあなたは出会わなかった。
Something cold and unpleasant crawling up my spine. I knew because I'd killed a person with my own hands before. Before I came to the conclusion that I only had one chance to beat this woman to death, to keep her quiet, and I couldn't hesitate, so I could tell that she'd arrive at the very same conclusion. My instincts warned me again. I wish I'd never met this woman. The faint sense, like rotten smell, drifting from this woman was no doubt the exact sense that I was giving off right now. A very peculiar aspiration. The lack of uncertainty at taking a human's life for a purpose. One that only those who had risen above everything else had. Actually, maybe I should have called it a nausea. It meant that I didn't know how to explain this very well, but Takano-san was the same as me, yeah. In other words, someone who shouldn't have been here. Someone I couldn't have let anyone know was here. Someone who nobody would have wanted to see. And now that we could calmly pretend as though we never met. Yes. Which meant that, just like I wanted to have nothing else to do with her, she didn't want anything to do with me either. And she too wanted to make it so that that we'd never met. Both of us wished the same thing. Our desires were the same, which when Takano-san's suggestion was extremely practical, and that I couldn't outright refuse.
それでいいなら、そういうことでもいいです。俺と高野さんは今夜出会わなく。
そうよね。あなたにとってもその方がいいでしょうから。
どうしてそう思うんですか？
いちいちうるさいわね。それくらい自分で考えられないの、坊や。
She cut me off with a condensing condescending word boy, right in front of my house in a place most unsuited to kill, and yet unsuited to killing, and yet there was a frozen thirst for blood coming from both of us. I would be killed right here, right now. Yeah, then I should have definitely beaten her as we passed each other. A dumb, greasy sweat broken out of my body. That's fine. If you want me, then you can come anytime. And when I made up my mind, she shook her hair elegantly and turned on her heel.
よかったわね。私が優しい人で。
What was good? How? Because she was a kind person? Was that it? I didn't get it. Takano-san got into her car. We didn't exchange any words of parting. I had performed a massive feat, the killing of Satoko's uncle, and yet I didn't feel any accomplishment. On the holy night of Oyashiro-sama's curse, on which the taking of another's life was allowed. On a terribly rainy night when the demons wandered as agents of Oyashiro-sama's will. The demons were stopped to meet, but suddenly they didn't. The demons parted ways triumphantly. There was no reason for them to fight. Both their objectives had already been accomplished. With the rain hitting me like a waterfall, my eyes met with Takano-san's through the car. The female demon, her mouth twisted into a distorted, fearless smile. It was too late to kill her. Far too late. That first moment, the very first moment we saw each other, had been my best chance. And now that we had parted like this, I was actually aware of it. I should have not let her live. She beeped her horn quickly, then her car drove away in the deluge. The one woman who knew what really happened tonight disappeared into the dark. As long as she was alive, the night would never really end. Just get into an accident, I thought to myself. In this downpour, slip on the mud or something and fly face first into the tree and die. That wasn't a delusion, a wild flight of fantasy. It was an earnest wish. Yes, it was a command. Die. Die. And keep your mouth shut for eternity. Because I have no doubt you're wishing for me to die all the same. My curse upon her faded emptily as Takano-san's taillight disappeared into the utter darkness. Her car lights were completely out of sight. Even the sound of the engine faded into the sound of heavy rain and was inaudible now. I too turned my heel. I drew the curtains on the insane night to open the front door and end it all. I began walking towards the front door. I was covered in mud. I made a squishing sound at every step I took. Did he take his shovel out the car? Squish, squish. Don't worry, Keiichi, my body. Squish, squish. She'll die. Squish, squish. Her end will be as miserable as she is. I'll throw her into the flames alive and let her dance until she burns to the crisp. I'll burn her to ashes in the fire of hell itself, until she roasts as much as she deserves.
そう願うぜ。本気でな。
Squish. Huh? Just now, I hadn't taken a step, and yet, a footstep. Without emotion, I turned around. If there was a footprint that wasn't my own, then it was obvious someone else was behind me. Was somebody else there? I was sick of this. Whoever it was, I was sick of everything tonight. This time, I would kill them. I'd kill them without a second thought. I wouldn't hesitate to turn around and dig another hole. But fortunately, there was no one there. I wasn't going to have to kill any more people tonight. This night, I couldn't handle any more of it. Even if I heard an extra footstep each time I stopped, I put it down to me being just tired. So, the only other time, this part is definitely feels a little more connected to the first part in certain ways. The what's it called? All right, I'm gonna go to. I'm tired of this fucking raining. I hate the raining sound effect in this game. Okay, there we go. This is fine. So, it's a little more connected to the first game, I noticed. Keiichi as a character is going through some similar things. They like the Satoshi bat, like that is finally getting a little bit of payoff from the first game, which, you know, everyone was like questioning what was up with because Satoshi's bat did not come up at all in the second game. None of that really was a factor in that until here. The other thing that wasn't a factor in the second game was the whole presence behind you, because Keiichi had that freak out moment in the first game where he thought he was like feeling someone's presence and he started swinging and going mad. So that's finally getting like another element's being added to that here. So I just find it interesting that the first part and this part were like kind of more together, I guess. But yeah, like sorry, getting tired from reading. The last thing I want to mention is I did not see that coming at all. Takano being there, I felt was gonna be. I genuinely thought Keiichi was gonna kill her, and it would be like Takano was the one who died. Like he would kill her, leave her body on the road, and just walk away. Because to be honest, that would be the perfect crime. That would be the perfect crime. No one will ever know she was there, and she would just be dead. Like, because no one expected her to be there. That's what I thought would be the what was gonna happen. Because I'll be honest, Takano always felt like a red herring to me. Like, she always felt like a character that you're there to look at very suspicious, but she might actually have zero malintentions in this place, and she's kind of just a victim in this town. Because she was just a victim in the last part. She just disappeared. No, her body was found in the barrel thing. She actually died. She actually was one of the two people who died, and then other two people disappeared. So it's like, to me, I always saw her as just a red herring. There was nothing malicious from her. There was no real threat from her. Other than just there to look like she's kind of creepy and being like sus or whatever. But now this really changes a lot, because if what they're implying is true, if it really is what it is, which I'm taking it as true, the fact that she killed, maybe it's Tomitaka, like it's very much hinting that it is Tomitaka that she killed. If it's him he killed, and now she's trying to hide the fact that she killed him, that is a very troubling sign, obviously. That puts in question her character from the beginning. Like, what is up with her character? What is going on with her character? So if it's true, if both of these characters killed someone and are, I'm not gonna lie though, I do like this scenario. This scenario is so fucking interesting. You independently had a vicious murder that you did, and then you both found you're the only people who know each other's crimes are people who don't want to be noticed, who are like, I'm wondering if Takano does have like a sense of a moral ground, and she felt like she had to kill again Tomitaka. Like, I just assume it was him who died, which I think that, you know what, let's see this thing. They might reveal who died here, because they do reveal who died in the notes of this. So maybe it might be Tomitaka. It might be Tomitaka. Hello, do you need the hospital or the fire department? Okay. Fire department.
火事ですか？事故ですか？落ち着いて話してください。
多分火事だと思います。
I think it's a fire.
こちらは中部高速の柿内サービスエリアなんですけどね。裏の山からなんだかすっごい火と煙が上がってるのが見えるんですよ。
From the mountains behind
あんな
us.
ところ誰も立ち入らないから、なんで火がついてるのかよくわかんないですけど、とにかく連絡した方がいいと思って。山火事にならないとも限らないし。
わかりました。すぐに現場を確認しますので、そちら様のお名前とすぐに連絡のつく電話番号、それから火災現場の詳細な場所をお願いします。
消防司令部より通達。G ブロック西側山斜面にて不審火の通報あり。街道から離れていることからカップルの焚き火か不法投棄のゴミに放火したかの可能性があります。現場は深い森林地帯。周辺に民家はないが延焼の可能性あり。直ちに現場を確認されたし。
Was it Keiichi's lantern? I don't remember. Did he leave his lantern? But his was by the he kind of was by like the road, essentially, like close to the road. He wasn't really high up in the mountains, because it says here deep in the woods, because there was no flammable item that he left in the other hole, was there? Like, it was just a shovel.
消防署ですか。こちらは G ブロック第3消防分隊です。通報の現場にさっき到着。ドラム缶が一つ山中に放棄され、炎上しているのを確認しました。火は鎮火しつつあり、延焼の可能性はなし。で、ドラム缶の中に多分人じゃないかと思うんです。人らしきものが灯油か何かで焼かれたという感じ。警察の人にも連絡した方がいいんじゃないかと思いまして。間違いねえよ。これ人だよ。
So did this happen tonight as well? Okay, victim of the 5th year. Okay, let's check this out.
今年のたたりって。
そういうことになるんですかね。毎年いろんな殺し方を見せてくれますが、今年は特に際立っていますね。
But that is how Takano died last year. Like, what last year? last game. She was in the oil drum. I can't remember. Was it her who was in the oil drum or Tomitaka? No, Tomitaka died the same way as he did in the first game with his like throat. Like he was clawing out his throat. And Takano was in the oil drum.
自分で自分の喉をかき破るなんて。
あとは鑑識のじい様に任せましょう。きっと何かの怪しげな薬物を検出してくれるに。
お疲れ様です。
あ、大石さん、小宮山さんたちが到着しました。
大石さん、お疲れ様です。今年は一等来てるのが出たらしいじゃん。
裏を書かれました。私はてっきり今夜死ぬのは北条哲平だとばかり思ってたんですがね。
仏は何者です？
富武二郎。年に何回かひなみ沢に来てる趣味の写真家さんです。
Everyone felt that he was gonna die this year.
ノーマークだったな。
どうなんでしょうね。北条宅にずっと張り付いてたのがバレて、ターゲットを変更したとか。
かなあ。恨めったな。
で、北条哲平の方は何も。
ねえ、夕方頃に娘が祭りに出かけて、その少し後にバイクで出かけまして、先に娘が帰ってきて、あれ？まだ帰ってないかな？
His daughter left for the festival in the evening. A little while later, he left on his motorbike. His daughter came back first. Wait, does he know? How do they know he left on his motorbike?
どっかで飲んだくれてるのかな？
大石さんいらっしゃいますか？高杉課長からです。1号車の無線にお願いします。
Okay. So they didn't tell us who died. Okay. Alright, fuck. I forgot this stupid. Hopefully the next starting screen isn't just another black image like that. Here, let's check this out. Another black image, great. Okay, whatever. I wish it was like a picture at least, like these. Well, I guess there's two Mions there, but you know, like I think I can tell the difference. But no, it's like this. Okay, whatever. I'm just nitpicking. Okay, that was a hefty chapter. That was a good chapter. That was great. That was a very good fucking chapter. So yeah, closing thoughts would just simply be Tomitaka's probably dead. Are they gonna think that the uncle disappeared, Tepe? Are they gonna think he just disappeared and he's the one who vanished, got demoned away? Because if they do, then that might be like the best outcome. But how do they know? How do they know he went on his motorcycle? Did when Keiichi called the police department, did Tepe at some point call them back? It was like, hey, just to make sure, where's your address or whatever? Okay, but at least it is Tepe. I was gonna think they were gonna do like a what's it called? Like a twist, like Keiichi killed the wrong person, but no, it is him. Okay. So yeah, that's pretty good. But damn, that's a good chapter. That was a really good chapter. Very like the Watanagashi chapters are always like the longest one usually. I should plan these out better. I was gonna stream a little earlier, but unfortunately I made a phone call and had to wait for phone calls and it was really annoying, and then I had to wait forever until later, and then it was just a busy day, even though I really wanted to stream. But either way, like pretty good. But yeah, next time I'm definitely gonna plan out the Watanagashi episodes much more carefully. Although there's one more game in the question arc. So I don't even know if the answer arcs structure them the same way with like these days leading up to Watanagashi and then the aftermath of it. I don't know. But either way, I really appreciate anyone who watched. This is a really crazy series. I can't wait to see what happens next. What's going to happen with Satoko, what's going to happen with Keiichi. And I'm not going to lie, the Takano element. At first I thought I was going to be really annoyed by it, but it's a really good element right now. It's really making things so much more interesting. I'm really excited to see what the fuck is going on with her. Because that lady, I just do not understand that lady. That lady creeps me out. I do not understand what she's about. That rhymes, I guess. But yeah, that's pretty good. All right, so yeah, I'm gonna leave you there. Take care and have a good night, evening, and morning, whatever you are. Take care. Bye.